So have you ever been afraid to say what you want to say, to really say what you want to say, to create conflict because you are afraid of losing that connection, that person? This is part two in a series of how different archetypes show up in dating and relationships, the different patterns we have based on our archetype. So this is part two. So I want to talk about the second archetype in the 5 different ways that it can show up in relationship. Because for this particular person, the fear of losing that connection trumps everything. And so what ends up happening, this person overgives, overextends, loses themselves in trying to hold on to this connection. So I want to give you the 5 different dating patterns of this archetype. So the first one is you can feel their emotions, their energy before you guys have even had a conversation. Let's say you go out and you both get in the car or you meet at a restaurant. You're already picking up on the vibe, their energy, their mood. Something's off. So this is all intuitive. You can tell something's off. And so you want to fix it. So you might say things to check in how they're feeling. You're really attuned with them and their feelings. And so your conversation is trying to make it better, right? To improve their mood. Number 2, you tend to attach fast and deep. So you're deep. You love depth. You're not really a fan of staying on the surface. You like to have conversations where you're kind of exposed. You can expose yourself vulnerably. You love if they share vulnerably, but you definitely are emotionally invested and right away. So if you tend to connect, if you can see, you might attract someone who quote unquote love bombs, right? Because if they are giving you and saying all the things and messaging you all the time, because they're trying to create this environment of safety really early, you're really drawn to that because you want to feel close and connected as soon as possible. Number 3, you carry the emotional weight of this relationship. So you're the one that's checking in. Let's say, for example, you don't hear from them. They didn't call you, they didn't text you. You notice that immediately. Oh gosh, they normally message me this many times a day or at this time and they didn't. So I didn't hear from them. So let me reach out because I want to make sure that I'm maintaining this connection. I don't want to lose them, right? So it's coming from your nervous system is already feeling unsafe because their behavior has changed. So you're always doing the things to make sure that you're staying in connection. Number 4, you suppress your own needs to keep the pace, to make sure that you're on the same page. So even if you got a lot of things to say, you want to make sure that you're attuning to them, that they're okay. So you may not always say everything that you really feel. You might not be always transparent and honest about how you're feeling. Maybe you tried it. Maybe you got a little vulnerable and you shared, well, I felt like this when this happened. And maybe they turned it back on you. Maybe they didn't take accountability. So you learned really quickly, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to say anything to rock the boat. But I do want to make sure that I check in with them. So it's all about them, their emotions, how they're feeling. And so in the process, you can lose yourself. And then number 5 is that you confuse emotional depth with emotional safety. So you actually think that just because, oh my gosh, we're so close, we have these great conversations, just because there's depth, you automatically think it's safe. When in reality, depth doesn't mean safety. It does to your system. Your nervous system thinks the closer I am, the more safe it is. But in reality, not true. Especially if you've attracted, you can be more vulnerable to someone who is trying to create this sense of safety for you by getting deep and love bombing and doing all the things. But in reality, it may not be safe. So just because you feel close doesn't mean they're a safe space for you. So the intensity of the bond doesn't mean it's a healthy bond. So if some of these things feel true for you, I encourage you to check out part 1. And I'm going to be coming out with part 3 and part 4 because there's 4 different archetypes and you might be a little bit of each. And you might be one as your natural, but when you're under stress or when it comes to relationships, another one kind of surfaces up. And it's important to know which one you are and how you show up in relationship, because oftentimes the way we show up in dysregulation is what sabotages our success in a relationship. Either we're not seeing it clearly and we're not really in the right relationship and we should be getting out, or there's things that we're doing that isn't the best for us and we could be showing up differently, which might create a different dynamic in the relationship. So if you haven't taken the energetic frequency archetype quiz, that information is in the description. And I hope that you'll follow me for part 3.